Homeless Coalition, but, we'll go ahead and get started. I think she's down the elevator on the ground floor, but we'll go ahead and say the prayer and the pledge, then we'll wait. Okay. Father in heaven, we come now and thank you for life, health, and strength, and come blessing your name because your name is worthy to be blessed. We come asking your forgiveness for our sins, and we forgive those that trespass against us. We thank you now, Father, for your goodness and your mercy. We thank you for how you've taken care of us from the cradle to the present time. Not only that, Father, we thank you for how we slept last night, and when we heard the news of others, Father, our heart is burning. We thank you now, and we bless you, and we pray for those families now, Father. It's sweet. And during this pandemic, we ask your blessing upon us to help us. It's only you can do, you will do. You've done it from the beginning of time to now. And we believe that if we continue to call on you, you will take care of us. Thank you again, and we bless you. Father, for these that are sitting here to hear, get the information, listen, and to help. We ask your blessing upon them that they will do the best they can. And it's our job to serve this community. Father, not only that, but take care from the big house all the way to the little house. We thank you again, and we bless you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Stand to pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't have anything to say. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thanks for waiting on me. I'm Amanda Wander with the Day Continuum of Care, and Rolanda reached out to me saying that you guys are having a workshop on homelessness, and I was super excited to hear about this. I've worked in this field since 2006, and been able to do some work in your county pretty regularly over those years. And on my way into town, I saw a gentleman experiencing homelessness right on the main road here. So it is something that you guys are faced with in your community, and we want to help you solve it, alleviate it, and make sure people get what they need to avoid that situation altogether. There's a few things being passed around, so you guys will have two things. This is a resource guide, and everything highlighted in yellow is something that's available to Taylor County or the city of Cary. A lot of these service providers are based out of Tallahassee, so they do come here. They have regular days working out here, and then they can come upon request as well. So we'll kind of go through that as well. But I'd like to kind of go over with you guys who the COC, Continuum of Care, is, who our service providers are, and what we know about your community and homelessness data, and then just kind of open it up and have you guys ask questions, or if there's things that you're hearing, things that you're concerned about with regards to prevention of homelessness, especially through the pandemic. Evictions are a real thing that all of our communities are having to deal with. So we'll just have some time to chat, and I can follow up with any more information that you guys may need as well. And then I hope to make some connections out of this, because we look for service providers who are in this county, living in this county, breathing in this county, doing the work in this county. The more we can contract for services with people and agencies that are based out of the county, the better it's going to go. We have a lot of service providers right now that cover a County area. And a lot of times that means that the residents of Taylor County don't get what they need because they're overlooked. And so we want to do some things to change that. So if you guys have connections to faith-based partners, nonprofits, I'd love some introductions and be able to follow up with them because we have some funding that might be available here very shortly that could be administered right here locally. So we cover an 8-county area. So we cover, I like to think about your county connected to Madison and Jefferson, and kind of think of you guys as kind of like a tripod. You end up doing a lot of things together. You share a lot of resources, which is smart and good. We also have Gadsden, Wacella, Franklin, Liberty, and Leon County as well. So we have a pretty big coverage area, and you guys are familiar with the city of Tallahassee, I'm sure, and there are a tremendous amount of services available there that aren't necessarily available to you guys in this community. And there are some other ways to make sure that the residents here still have access to those services. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we understand what you guys need down here, what your residents need, so that we can make sure that our resources that we allocate to all 8 counties are right for meeting the needs here locally. And so the more dialogue, the more communication we have about that, the better. We also do a formal needs assessment process for the 8-county area with regards to homelessness. And the more contacts we have locally, the better we can survey people and hear feedback from them about what their experience has been in accessing services. That's really important to us. We have a 31-member board that is kind of our governance board for this 8-county area. And Councilman Mike Denning is the representative for the city of Perry. And we, that's kind of your opportunity to have a liaison at the local level so that, we can make sure we stay in touch with what's going on. We also welcome anybody from the community to participate in those meetings or any type of committee meetings. We have planning meetings, needs assessment meetings. We have a data meeting, so we do a lot of data collection as well, so we can understand if we're making an impact or not. One of the things that we do every year is try to identify gaps, and a part of that is kind of bringing on nonprofit municipalities, sometimes other systems of care, like the child welfare system or the justice system, and kind of throwing all our cards on the table and saying, okay, these are the resources that we have dedicated that could either prevent homelessness, keep somebody from entering homelessness, or help get them out. Once you see what you have, then you can kind of see where some of the holes are and where you might need to move some stuff around or go after different funding. Kind of our expertise at the COC is federal funding. So we apply for all of the HUD funding and stuff, and a lot of that funding goes to serve folks all over our 8-county area. So you guys might not be aware of some of the residents here that are actually assisted with that funding, but we do use that funding as well as state funding through DCF to serve our whole 8-county area. And the DCF funding is some of the only funding that we really get to prioritize for the other communities that we serve. And so we want to make sure that you guys know about resources and that you're telling people in the community where to go. Because if we don't get referrals for those clients, then we can't spend that money on this community. And so that's a missed opportunity. So like I said, we go for HUD funding, and we go for a lot of state funding through DCF. Sometimes larger governments will fund us too, but typically in rural areas like Taylor County, we understand that your budgets are not such that you can fund an entity. So we use our other money to do that kind of planning and stuff. City of Tallahassee and Leon County fund us a little bit, but that's a bit out of the norm because they're a much larger area. So with HUD funding that comes through us, also have some sort of disability. So we do see a lot of folks that need this type of resource who are typically 65 or older and are on some sort of disability, so they have super limited income. But this type of program is permanent housing. They get a lease in their name and they can stay there for as long as they need to. It's subsidized by HUD, so it can help cover some of the rent, it can help cover some of the utilities, and it also includes case management and connection to other services. You know, if they need some additional services for a disability, something like that, it can be inclusive of wraparound services if they need it. That's kind of our highest level of care that we have access to and can apply for. We also have what we call rapid rehousing, and that's funded through HUD. You guys have a new project in your area that is run through Refuge House. There is a existing domestic violence shelter here, but there is also a new program, and it is funded to the tune of about $200,000 per year. It started in October for the first time ever, but what this can do is get people who are fleeing domestic violence and who would otherwise enter homelessness onto their own housing, and it can help cover rent, utilities, housing fee applications, deposits, that kind of thing. So they are looking for applicants, and residents of that program. It's scattered all throughout the community, so a lot of times agencies need help finding places where these people can go to rent safe and affordable housing. But that's a brand new thing, and simply calling Refuge House, if you hear of somebody who may benefit from this and may be out on the street because they're fleeing, having them call Refuge House and having them kind of go through their options over the phone, it can be as simple as that, getting them enrolled in that program. There's not a lot of requirements for it. DCF funds us at about $780,000 right now, and that's for our whole 8-county area. But some of the things that they fund are more programs that are geared towards rental assistance to keep people from entering homelessness. So if people have racked up, rental arrears or debts, we can cover some of that, including utility bills that they've racked up, so that they can kind of move on with their lives. Because if you're working a minimum wage job, there's no chance that you're ever going to be able to work enough to be able to catch up on arrears. So we recognize that, and sometimes all people need is a break, a one-time break, where that bill is covered for them, and they can move on with their life. If they have a job, they're employed, this is just holding them back. So we do things like that for homeless prevention. And the two major providers available to you guys here are Catholic Charities of Northwest Florida and Big Bend Homeless Coalition. You guys have this sheet which has their phone numbers, hours of operations, and what services they provide. But those are two of the biggest service providers in your area, and they offer homeless prevention as well as rapid rehousing to help with our rental assistance and utilities. We also have a little bit of funding through TANF for families who have a small child. And that one's probably our most restrictive funding, and we help one family a month across the 8 counties. But there may be some instances where somebody could really benefit from that here, and Catholic Charities administers that for us. But it's also rental assistance to prevent somebody from entering homelessness. So we try to kind of align our priorities with HUD because we're so heavily funded by HUD. We want to make sure that we're doing things in line with what they're expecting so that we can be in line to get that funding to then make sure it's used in your community. So the things that they want to see and the things that they've wanted to see for a number of years now are that we have some sort of plan and that we're making progress, showing that numbers are going down and ending homelessness altogether. So we have been able to do that. Generally speaking, there is a decrease in the amount of people experiencing homelessness within our 8-county region. There's a few other nuances to that where we do see people are experiencing homelessness for longer periods of time, and they also have more complex needs. But we do see fewer and fewer people coming to our system of care needing those resources. All that dropped during the pandemic, though. Things have changed drastically. I want to see that we have we've created a systemic response. So rather than what has been done traditionally, say 30 years ago or so, a lot of times small faith-based groups would see a need in a community, and they would stand up a food pantry or emergency shelter or something to meet that immediate need that they saw. I want to see that we are working together as a collaborative, and that yes, those services are being offered, but there's other more long-term, permanent options that will help get these folks out from homelessness. So we have to balance that. But we want to make sure that there's an array of services that people have options to choose from, because a lot of times faith-based providers are what is going to speak to somebody. That's the only way they're going to find their connection. That's the only way that they're going to find their support ongoing. So that is an incredibly important part of services sometimes. We do like to promote using housing first. And this is a model of care where it is just like it sounds, housing first, meaning that you do not have to be sober, you don't have to be receiving mental health treatment to get housing. You get housing, and then you start to work on those other things. And it actually ends up being far more cost effective to do things that way, rather than requiring folks to go through services first. Because it's hard to go through services and keep your appointment and keep up with maybe your med management if you don't have a consistent place to go every night. So a lot of that work is filled out when there's a roof over somebody's head. So we do use that approach, and we also dedicate resources based on permanent housing outcomes. So we're looking at projects, and we're looking at project proposals that are proving to us that they are going to make a long-term difference in a community and get people onto more permanent options. So those are the things that we kind of look at to make sure that a provider or a project does speak to the need. We have different components of care, and we have a couple of new ones that are available to you guys here locally. If you guys are following along, I'm on slide 7 of your handout. Homeless prevention is something we've had for a long time, and traditionally, especially in communities like Perry, there has been the homeless prevention has been provided by churches. A lot of times when people are in trouble, that's the first place they're gonna go, is the church, to see if they can get some help. We also newly have street outreach available to you guys. Some of you may have met Rima with the Big Bend Homeless Coalition. We also have Evandita and Shalisa, who also are outreach workers in this area. What they do is, if you see somebody who might be experiencing homelessness, give them a call at the Homeless Coalition, and they will come out and meet with that person, see what's going on.
So we're to that.
So we are a system that is under-resourced. So right now, all of our emergency shelters are full, and it would take a couple of days likely to get that person into a hotel here locally. If it's a super cold night, then we are kind of on standby. We have like a 24-hour number. If it's not a cold night, then normal operation hours, 8 to 5. You can call the Kearney Center, or if it's a family, you can call Hope Community. They also have some different people that can hotel.
Are those numbers are in here?
Yes, they are.
Can you tell me a little bit about the funds from the center?
So some of their funding, a small amount of it comes from us. We do case management through BCS with them. Their funding, some of it comes from the city of Tallahassee and Leon County, and so they have some project funding as well. But I think that that's the majority of their regular funding is either coming through City of Tallahassee or Leon County. Or DPS. Or I ramble on, guys, if anybody else has any questions. Sure.
Talking about utility bills, and we have utility, the city, is this the kind of economic fund for the one time now?
No, it's not. So, actually talking to Lawanda, leading up to this, and the other folks in the community, we have learned about, Swanee Economic Council. So this is an additional resource to them. And, so they, you know, they have what they have, but this is in no way tied to it. But we're gonna start using them as a option, for folks. But yeah, this is completely separate. No, Courthouse does not have utilities at this time. Charities and they've been homeless for are the two that have that.
7 o'clock at night, you in prayer meeting, somebody knocked on your church door and says, I need to be put up a couple of nights. So with the pandemic, even churches struggling now, still. So I can call 211.
So anywhere you call is not gonna be able to immediately relieve that person's need for shelter that night.
Okay.
We are trying to get our resources such that you have some resources locally, so you can do that. But right now, there's not gonna be an immediate answer. A lot of times, the way we've worked it with other faith-based partners is that they'll agree to put them up for a couple nights, and then work with the agency that can cover the rest of it. So sometimes that works best, because you're meeting that immediate need, but you're not having to invest long-term.
Yeah, we'll put, you know, some, a couple of nights. Maybe some need only a couple
Yeah.
of nights.
Yeah, and some may need something more than emergency shelter. They may need some sort of long-term subsidy or something like that, and we can help get them hooked up with that. And all of the resources and partners that we have are always on our website. And it is updated and changed quite frequently depending on what funding is flowing. So feel free to direct people to that website. Feel free to link to our website. If there's one department or entity that's getting a lot of calls for prevention, we're happy to field those calls. Our office and each of our providers are happy to take those calls too.
But if he's home, you got a computer.
So you would be surprised, actually, about the phone.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. So many people have smartphones now.
Yeah.
And so sometimes for, some of our clients, it is easier for them to communicate through a smartphone and email versus talking on a phone because they don't have minutes. So it's just kind of, it depends on the person, what they got going on. But, you guys have folks frequent the library here too, right? We've typically found folks through the library, the jail, and, also sometimes here downstairs, somebody will call us and say, hey, we've seen somebody who's just walked in. Are there other folks? I would imagine the school system, also is, really connected to families, but is there any other entities that you guys have that we could check in with and make sure that they have literature for folks?
We have our food pantry.
Okay.
But we can.
Okay.
So to simplify a lot of this information that you're giving out, I guess you'd have to know how many homeless people you have in a community, and how do you find that out? Who does that?
So we typically do that, every January in each of our 8 counties. We do what is called a point in time count. And I see a few faces of folks that have participated in that before. This year, we did it a little differently because of the pandemic, so we didn't rely on volunteers, we relied on staff. But typically in this community, we identify between 10 and 14 people who are experiencing homelessness on this one day in January and are either sleeping outside in an emergency shelter or hotel situation or sleeping in their car. So, you know, and that's for Taylor County, not just the city of Perry.
Okay, so once the number is established, then are you saying that, you have to have so many ongoing to qualify for the assistance that you're talking about? Maybe I misunderstood.
If you have one person who needs this assistance, that's enough. Like, you know, we have the funding available through providers, and as long as there are people being connected to those services, they can get that assistance. And we even go a step farther to make sure that our DCF funding is prioritized for our rural counties versus Leon and Tallahassee, because Leon and Tallahassee have other resources that they can dedicate to it, and our rural counties don't. So if we have a provider that has 5 people on their waiting list, 4 of them are from Leon County and 1 of them's from Taylor County, they're instructed to take the person from Taylor County first, before they move on, to Leon. But yeah, you don't have to qualify, to kind of have these resources available to your community. Even if you don't have one person who is experiencing literal homelessness, chances are you have people who are identified through the school system that are doubled up or near homelessness. So investing more on the prevention side would keep those people from entering homelessness, and then you would not develop a problem with homelessness. Because it's not, you don't have to have a certain threshold or number of people.
You don't have to have a quota.
No. We want to see that you don't have any people, but when you do, we want them to know they have a place to go, or a place to call to get what they need. Yeah. And we're really looking to find stronger connections locally, you know, with churches, with other entities that can actually take on some of these funds and administer them locally so that more immediate things can happen. Because right now, most of our providers, like I said, are based out of Tallahassee, and for something to happen immediately when somebody knocks on a door is impossible right now, unless we have the local community able to do that. And we provide a lot of technical assistance, that kind of stuff, to, you know, bring somebody up to speed on how to administer the funds. Some of them are a little tricky with federal funds, but it's all learnable, and, you know, you can administer it at the local level, no problem.
So you really need to organize something locally.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's exciting, because this is the most interest I kind of remember ever seeing, since I've been involved in this work in multiple counties. I wasn't sure if I was gonna come to 8 people, or if there was gonna be a room full of 30, but this is awesome that you guys are all here and wanting to talk about this. One of the things that we do with communities a lot of times is come up with a strategic plan specifically for that community. And that might be something that you guys want to consider. And I would actually recommend that you do it in conjunction with Jefferson and Madison County, because you guys all have different resources that you can kind of put on the table. And it makes your resources go a little farther if you're strategic about who does what. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, we can help facilitate that. We really need your help bringing all the right people to the table, but we can kind of walk you through that process of coming up with your own local plan and, you know, deciding how you're gonna handle certain instances of homelessness. We're doing a similar process with the city of Tallahassee right now, and Leon County. And we do have kind of a coordinated entry assessment that every client that accesses our services goes through. And the reason for that is we're trying not to waste resources. So we don't want to just throw everything at somebody until something sticks. We want to be really strategic and understand their needs and what their history has been, so that we can pair the right intervention with them. And so sometimes that means emergency shelter, sometimes that means rental assistance, sometimes it means a long-term voucher. But we have a much better idea about what people need after they go through that assessment. And it usually takes 15 or 20 minutes. But they have to be open and honest, and sometimes it takes a little while to build that rapport to get them to be comfortable sharing personal additional information. And, on the back page, you guys have a list of all of the agencies, that are doing specific services. And, you can always reach out to us, you know, if you have somebody who needs something, whether it be shelter, food, whatever, you can have them call our office and we'll get them to the right agency. You don't have to worry about filling that out to a person or helping them navigate that. If you know somebody who needs help, send them to us via phone, and then we have Sarah who answers the phone. We'll spend some time with the person over the phone and get them to the right agency. And then we make sure that agency follows up, and that person didn't have any issues getting through services and whatnot. So feel free to use my contact information at the bottom, and then these agencies listed here, as well as the agencies in yellow, are agencies you guys have as a resource here. And, I did check with some of our agencies before I left, and they haven't received too many referrals for rental assistance or utility assistance from this area. So if there's something else you guys think you need to help get the word out, I'm happy to, assist with that in any way. Whether that's creating, you know, flyers that might be targeted at, you know, specific events. If you guys need me to come and talk to somebody else, if you have kind of a resource there, I'm happy to do whatever it takes to make sure that your citizens are getting that assistance and they're not cut off from it.
A lot of this is a mental health issue. So you have services for that, because I know Nancy, she runs a Methodist church. We've tried to help people in the past. We've driven them up to Tallahassee for help. They don't, some of them won't help or don't understand that they won't help or need help.
Is this somebody who is actively experiencing homelessness?
Has her group.
Okay, all right.
Do you have any mental health services?
Okay. So we use the same resources that you guys are probably familiar with, which is Appalachia Center. You guys are in a really unique spot in Madison and Taylor County, and you often fall between the cracks because you are kind of paired with service providers out of Circuit 2, and Circuit 3. And so a lot of times what happens is those clients don't maintain a provider in either, and so there's not much known about their history and such. There's gonna be more to expand mental health services here. So, maybe we can just kind of work together on those case-by-case instances, because if they are passing through, we might need to help you with some coordination to get them where they need to be, or wherever they came from. Because in certain instances, resources may be better there. But yeah, just kind of give me a holler when you have that come up, and we'll work through it. We also do a lot of staffing of cases. Almost every single person that we have done an assessment on, we also staff on a bi-weekly basis. And so if there was somebody you guys are sending to one of our providers, we would staff them too. And sometimes we need people who are involved locally with them to kind of advocate for them or tell us what's going on. Because maybe the assessment isn't quite telling us what we need to know. And so if you are involved with somebody and help them get into services, make sure that whoever you're sending them to for services knows that you know them at the local level, because that report can be really important.
I'm just coming in, so I hate that as you kind of repeat yourself, but I do have a question. My first question is, are you guys assisting any of the homeless population when it comes to the funding that's coming down for stimulus?
So most of our providers do work with every single person they encounter, because most of the folks may not have an email address, or they may not have some of the things in place that you need to get that stimulus money. So our providers are real accustomed to just helping people get through that. There's also some additional funding that the governor has, instructed to slow down. That won't necessarily come through us. We've heard it will be managed through DCS, but it's supposed to be for rental assistance. So as soon as I know more information about how to access that, I'll let you guys know, because that is another on top of, kind of pot that people might be able to access.
Okay, so I've seen on the news Friday, and I don't know if y'all are affiliated with Carmen Center in Courthouse.
Yes.
Okay, well, they said that they've been something like 300 or 400, and there's someone here, he doesn't have an ID, but he has a social security number, and there is a local organization that wants to assist with the paperwork, but they're concerned about where the money will be spent and like what option would they have as far as the payment. But
Yeah,
the other question I have for you is that, would you guys have a local office here, a satellite office here, or is there discussion for that option?
We don't have a local office here, but, we are happy to come and work here if we're invited. And we do have partners who do have regular days down in the county. We have an outreach provider, they don't have an office because they're usually out and they have a vehicle, so they're kind of mobile. And that would actually be the best option for the person you're mentioning who needs help. I can send somebody to follow up and meet with them regularly. They come at least once a week, maybe twice a week to this location, so, that might be something they can follow up with. And as far as the stimulus check goes, you know, of course, we want to see that funding goes to the person, not an agency.
Right.
It should not flow through an agency at all whatsoever.
Well, this is not an agency, they, I think they're affiliated with the AARP, they have
Okay.
a service group that helps people.
Yeah, so
like
they're
that.
probably just helping the person set up the things that are needed, either, whether it be a bank account, email address, finishing their tax return if they didn't file it, things like that.
Yeah, they, I reached out to them Saturday, and they said they wanted to assist, but that was the main concern, that the person would get the funding, but they didn't know how the person would be able to do that with them not having an ad.
Yeah. And you can set it up through direct deposit. You can also send it to a PO box. So, sometimes we instruct people, if you don't have an address, make sure you have a PO box so that you can get your important documents. There are also other entities like churches or other nonprofits that will allow for somebody to use their address and have mail delivered there.
Yeah, I was gonna, that's why I called Chris, I was about to reach out to the Heritage Church, but, cause we had already reached out to one organization that had a PO box, but there was concern. But, that's what the concern was, that we could probably partner with the church or food bank, because we know we have another in county service. But when I used to work in social service, I know I worked close with Catholic Charities and the Homeless Coalition. And I was always told that you guys receive funding for the area, but it was just always hard for our people to access it because of transportation.
Yeah, that shouldn't be the case anymore, because they should be coming to you here. So you should be able to reach them by phone and say, I have somebody here who needs this assistance, can I organize a day, time where you can meet them out here? If it's not on one of their regular days. So that shouldn't be a barrier.
Do you have a phone number, or is it just provided on?
It's in the information.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
All the way in the
Again,
back.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Okay. Good question. And I think, you know, I'm just open, I'm gonna hang around if you guys don't have any other questions, just kind of take notes about what you guys got going on, and, I'm happy to talk at any time, whether it be a specific case, or whether it be something that you're noticing that keeps happening in your community. If there's a way for us to help you address it, we wanna do it.
I wanna say that the county commissioners, we have a 6 o'clock meeting to go to, so I would love to talk to you. But I think one of the problems we have is just not enough of information out there. And I don't know about it, and other elected officials don't know, how are these other people gonna know? So there has to be some sort of centralized location or get organized so that enough people know that when you find somebody that's homeless or they're reported, that
You're like,
everybody knows who they
yeah.
are. I just
these resources dedicated to this community, through COVID funding, so there's a lot of new things that are available that weren't available before. But yeah, I'm happy to do, if you guys wanna have like a resource fair or something like that, where we can bring all our providers to cover this area, and also people in the community who need the services, to just come, have a one day where people get to meet each other and learn what they do.
Okay.
Yeah, I really do.
I know we have to have